welcome to the big announcement, man. Super excited about doing this, and I've been waiting all day to kind of get to a place where we could get it revealed and go ahead and get it out to everybody. It's super late at night, but I want to knock this out before I head to bed. Before I can kind of dive into exactly what we're doing, I guess I got to first explain that where did we start this, right? As much excitement as I have for this new thing that we're going to reveal to everyone, we got to first identify the problem. And there is a bit of a problem that we've had here, and I think all CFMs in the Madden community are having, and that is this very dividing, I should say, factor of X factors in player development. So what this video is about and what we're unveiling tonight is a custom-made OMFL player development, what would you call it? System? Something like that? I don't know. We're going to go with system, I guess. It's late at night, man. I've been working on off-season stuff all day. But I'll say this. I am a big fan of X Factors. I love that it makes players feel individual. I love that it makes teams feel custom. It gives flavor. It gives character. I know some people don't love it, right? I believe that the way that they develop the system, it needs tweaking. It needs some help. But you know what? I give them a nod for trying something and putting something in place that I think makes the game better overall. Now, we haven't had the best results. As you see, we got Bosa getting 60 sacks every single year, but that's a bit on us, right? We have to kind of own some of those reasons of why we're allowing that to happen. And I do think, though, where it gets off track and where things kind of get haywire is in how players are developed. I love the fact that it's random. I love the fact that it is earned. You have to earn it with goals. I just don't love how those goals are usually based on a game and usually calls the players to play out of the ordinary from how we want gameplay here in the OMFL. And I don't love, it doesn't equal how many X Factors and how many superstars and how many star players are added with how many are taken away. The regression isn't quite what it used to be, and I think what a lot of leagues are seeing is you start with 70 or 80 X Factors, but by season 2 you're over 100, by season 3 you're close to 200, and for some leagues by season 4 and 5 and 6 they're getting over 200 X Factor players in their community, and it just skews the game too much. Let's just go look at some of our players real quick. Let's do a search. Let's go and just go do development. And you're going to see here, pretty long list of X Factor players that are now in the league. And this is a much longer list than what was there before we started. You can even see we're starting to get into Superstar. Some of these Superstars will become X Factors. You're just not seeing the X Factors who age out, who lose progression, who lose experience, who lose attributes. It doesn't equal what's being added with what's going away. And it does begin to overwhelm the system. I mean, you can see here we're 5 pages deep on players. I don't know what this is, maybe 50 players, 20, I don't know, maybe 35 players, something like that per list. So you're talking 5 pages deep before we get to start. And so a lot of leagues are trying to come up with ways to navigate this, to norm it. Some leagues have turned it off. Some leagues have gotten frustrated and come up with their own system. And so we really started racking our brain. How could we create something that still awards players for building their team, for building their players up, but does it in a way where it's normed across the league and evens out and balances out? How do we give teams like the Chiefs, who are stacked with tons of really great players, an opportunity to be even out with the rest of us, and yet at the same time, like teams like man, I don't want to pick on it, the Bills, right? Where he didn't have a really stacked roster. How do we give him an opportunity to build up players in a real way? Even when you're not winning, how can you still develop? And how do we even the playing field? So we created what we call the player progression system. This is the board that all of you will view after tonight. It is a code that's already created that we'll kind of release. And this shows you what will soon be claims that each team will be able to make. But before we get there, let me just stop and show you what this is going to be about. So we developed and designed and did a lot of research. This is actually Penguin's baby that he created, and then showed it to me, and I spread it out to a couple other people that I trust. And we really began to do our homework to find a way to tweak his idea and really make it what I wanted it to see it to become. And so it really has morphed over the last 48 hours into this system. What you see here is every position that we listed, and so we did take in consideration outside linebackers, right outside linebackers in a 3-4 being more of a blitzer, and even in a 4-3 being more of like they're going to cover the running back. They're rarely going to go out into coverage. They're not going to be able to make as many plays as that left outside linebacker where you see a lot of stats from. So we took into consideration that. We took into consideration tackles usually give up more sacks because of the great defensive ends that we have in this league and outside linebackers that we have in this league. So guards and centers don't give up as many. We took in consideration the wide range of styles that each different players play. Some are coverage guys, some are hard-hitting guys, some are running teams, some are passing teams. And what we did is we looked at all the stats. We took all those things in consideration, and we figured out stats that we want to see each player earn as a goal for the season in order to get a development upgrade. And at the same time, if you aim for those goals, you get a development downgrade if you don't hit them. And so the way we're doing this is that each team will be able to pick 16 slots. You have 16 players on your team that you will have to claim as what development you want to see them at the end of the season. You can only go up one development grade per season. So if your guys are normal, you can't take him to X Factor in one season. If he's a normal development, you can only make him star within one season. If he's star, you can only make him superstar, superstar, X Factor. You're probably saying, well, then what do I do if I have an X Factor plate? Great question. If you're X Factor, then you have to claim that you want to keep that X Factor. Because if you want to stay X Factor, you have to go and earn the X Factor stats. If you don't earn those X Factor stats, you lose one development grade. If you're a superstar and you want to stay at superstar, you don't want to try to get the X Factor goal, then you have to hit the superstar goal. If you miss that goal, you go down to star. If you're a star player and you want to stay at star, you don't want to chance it, you don't want to go for superstar, you still have to go for the star goal. If you miss that star goal, you now become normal. Now we have a natural, normal way within the game play and the game style and the game team building that you all are doing to build your team and have it show up in the developments that you have built. We feel like 16 players is enough. That's enough impact players scattered with normal development players to make it feel balanced and even. And it's just a good number to aim for. If you do not claim a player, if you have more than 16 X Factor, Superstar, Star players, then those players that are not claimed will automatically be set to normal at the beginning of the season. So I'm kind of laying out a bunch here and kind of spreading it out. Let me start from the beginning because I think I may be losing some people. So at the beginning of the season, this season, because this is going to be implemented right away, you have until week 4 to make your player claims. Just like you do for positions in this league, where once you're locked into a position by week 4, you can't move that player for salary cap reasons, for XP reasons, for a lot of reasons. This is going to be the same. You have until week 4 to claim your 16 players. So you can get a feel of the season, get a feel of your players, and see which 16 you want to claim. When you're ready to claim your players, you're going to go to this Google form. You're going to type in your name. You're going to type in your player's name, what development they currently are, what development you're aiming for. You can choose to stay on the development that you have. Again, that will be up to you to decide. I want to keep star. Nope, I want to go from star to superstar. I want to keep superstar. Nope, I want to go from superstar to X Factor. I want to keep X Factor. Whatever you decide that you want that player to be, you have to aim for that goal. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. You'll claim each of your players. The way that you will know what these goals are. How do I know what a normal to star goal is? How do I know what a star to a superstar is? How do I know what a superstar to X Factor or what an X Factor to stay an X Factor is? We're going to come back over to this, and you're going to click on this development goal chart. Of course, this is going to be read-only. You won't be able to make any changes, but as you read through here, you're going to see two different lines. There's a baseline here. There's a additional, or what I'm calling, didn't mean to do that, an either or stat. So each of these have a baseline and an either or stat. A baseline, either or stat. Baseline, either or stat. Yellow is going to be from normal to star or to stay star. Green is going to be star to superstar or to stay superstar. Red is going to be superstar to X Factor or to stay X Factor. It's all spelled out here at the beginning, at the very top. So if I have a defensive tackle that is normal development and I want them to be a star by the end of the season, because I have nothing to lose there. You can't go below normal, so I have nothing to lose. I have to hit baseline to begin with. So by the end of the season, my defensive tackle has to get 30 tackles and 7 tackles for loss. That has to be the baseline. I have to at least hit that. If I don't hit that, I don't receive the goal. I haven't earned my star rating development. If I did hit that, then I go to the either bucket. In the either bucket, I just have to hit one of these. Any of these that I want, but it has to be at least one of these. He has to get 30 tackles and 7 tackles for loss plus either 8 sacks, or my defense as a whole has to average 150 or less rushing yards. As a defense, we're only giving up 150 or less rushing yards. Or as a defense, we're only giving up 225 or less passing yards. If my defensive tackle gets 30 tackles for loss, 30 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, that's not solo, that's combined, 30 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and then gets 8 sacks, I have hit my goal. I have earned a normal to a star bump, and at the end of the playoffs, we will give those bumps, and you will have that for the following season. This does not change during the season. This is only processed at the end of each season. Again, you can go by quarterback. You can go, let's say I've got a halfback that is an X Factor, and I want him to stay that. I go right here to this bucket. He's got to have averaging at the end of the year. He's got to average 250 rushing attempts. So for the entire year, he's got to touch the ball at least 250 times. And he's got to average 6+ yards per carry. So as long as he's averaging over 6 yards a carry, he's had 250 or more rushing attempts, then I've hit my baseline goal, and I go to the next bucket. I have to just hit one of these goals, 1,500 rushing yards or 500 receiving yards. Let's say I only got 300 receiving yards. I didn't hit that, but I get 1,550 rushing yards. I've hit my goals in X Factor, and I can keep that X Factor player. Let's say I don't. Let's say I only touch the ball 200 times, and I average 7 yards a carry, and I get 1,700 rushing yards. I didn't hit my baseline. I missed my baseline of rushing attempts. I will lose my X Factor, and my player will now be a superstar at the end of the season. So you're probably having a whole ton of questions. Let me cover a couple of rules for you. Rookies and hidden players are not eligible for this program. So a player must have at least 1 year under their belt. So the draft this year, you cannot claim any of those players. They will not be set to normal, so don't worry. You will keep those players since they're rookies. Whatever they are as a rookie, hidden or star or anything, whatever they are, they will keep. It will be the following year that they will be entered into this program. The reason we're doing this is because we don't want players to start trying to get to X factor in one, as a rookie. It just isn't real, and we want to keep the rookies as they are for one season. They'll be eligible for this program the next season. You can only lose one development if you miss your goal, and you can only gain one development if you hit your goal. This means that you cannot jump from normal to X factor in one season. If you hit your goal, you can go normal to star. Then you have to set the next year to go star to superstar. And then year 3, you can go superstar to X factor. Players will be awarded this at the end of the season, so no one will get any bumps for the postseason. Players selected to get in-game boost will no longer be eligible. What does that mean? Well, let's say I have a normal defensive tackle, and I've put him in the system to become a star. But somehow the game gives me the opportunity to make him a star on my own, or even to make him a superstar. And I earn that in-game, the Madden system that's already in place that we have no control over. That player is now voided. You will not lose what you've gained, but he will go into the system the next year with whatever you've gained. Finally, two more. Owners will claim their selected players following the draft and concluded and locked by week 4. Preseason stats do not apply to any of the season goals. So, I've come to the form. Come to the form here. I filled it out. I've submitted my 16 players. That will auto-populate into these fields. So at any time, I can quickly come and look and go, oh yeah, that's the player that I've claimed. This is what I claim them to be. I claim them to be a star to superstar. I can come back over here. I can go, oh yeah, they're a middle linebacker. They're a star right now. I'm going to make them a superstar. So my goal is 75 tackles for the season, 10 tackles for loss, plus one of the following, either 15 plus sacks, 4 plus interceptions, 225 team passing yards, or 120 team rushing yards average. So these are not 100,000% perfect, but they're pretty close. And we may adjust these as we go. We're not going to make them super hard. Definitely won't change them in season to make them super hard. If we see some that need to be lower because they're too hard in season, we'll do that. But if they're too easy, we'll raise it the next season for the next round. But this is how we're going to do all of our player developments from here on out. That means every team will have at least 16 players, or the numbers, it could be up to 53. So whatever the math is there, I'm too tired to figure that out, would be 43, 40, 37. So 37 players on every team will be normal development, and the other 16 will be up to you. So this also gives you an opportunity, if you don't have a great team, to develop normal players and make them great. If you have a great team, this gives you an opportunity to trade away great players, get more draft picks, and continue to develop. But really think this will help parity, really think this will help the team building aspect, and this should help overall how we build players here in the OMFL, and will continue to give us more and more control over the way that we do this. So again, I'm going to send this all in a link. It's there. You can use the code, but we're going to kick this in immediately. You will have until week 4. I'm sure some of you will have more questions as you wrap your brain around this. Feel free to ask them. Figured a video was the best way to do it. And we're really excited about this. I plugged my players in. I did a test run on several different teams. Out of the 16 players using these stats, I would have kept 3 of them at what I was going for, and the rest I would have missed because I would have missed my goal. And this puts in a lot of strategy. Do I really want to chance that star to go to superstar? Do I want to keep him at a star? And if I keep him at a star and I don't use him, he sits on my bench, guess what? He's going to normal. You're going to lose him. You're going to lose the development of that player because he's not playing. Madden doesn't do that, but we're going to do that here. And I have players like that. I have an offensive lineman who is a superstar, I think, but is a backup player. He probably won't get snaps, and I got to think what to do. Do I trade him away? Do I keep him? Do I just lose development? Like, what do I do with this player? So he's going to get more engagement. It's going to get more personalization to build a team that suits your play style. Because maybe you don't have a quarterback that's going to pass for, 30 plus touchdowns or 95 QBR, 350 plus passing. That's not right. That got messed up. So that needs to be changed. It's going to be like this over here. It's going to be 3,200 yards and then 3,400 yards. So this is a typo. This will be fixed before this is released. So that's a typo that got messed up in all the copying and pasting that we were doing. But anyway, if you're not a passer, you're a rusher, do you not aim to move up a development, but to keep your development? If you don't use the tight end a lot, do you trade away that X factor so you can get something for him and use players that you do use often? So this is going to be fun. I know some of you are going to have pushback. I know some of you won't love it, but I do think this is an exciting custom thing that sets us apart from a lot of other leagues. A lot of work has gone into this. It is not perfect, but I think it's pretty close, and we will lean in on you guys for your suggestions, your ideas to make this better without making it super complicated. We had tons of ideas, but it just made this way too complicated. We don't want it to be complicated. We want it to be easy to understand, and all you got to know as a player is I got 16 players to claim. There's a form I got to fill out to claim my 16 players, and this is the goals that I got to hit with those 16 players. And I get to decide with those 16 players, do I want to keep the development that I have, or do I want to go up a development? And remember, if you don't claim a player, that player will automatically be set to normal. So if I have an X factor that I don't claim, and we see that when we do your list, if Cam Jordan on my team, no, let's Kamara's an X factor on my team. I fill out my farm, and I leave Kamara off. Guess what? Kamara's going to be edited from X factor to normal in one season. That is the only way that you can lose one dev point, is if you don't claim your player. You have to claim your players. You have to claim your X factors and superstars and stars first, and then everybody else will be set to normal. And if you have open slots, then you can start putting normal guys and starting to working your way to the star development. And if you don't do that, for whatever reason, your guy will be set to normal. And that may be okay, right? You may have an aging veteran X factor, and you have other young players that you want to develop, and you may make the decision, I'm not going to claim this X factor. I'm going to let him go to normal. And then now we've got an auto balancing function here. And we will not get these crazy numbers, because at all times we will have 16 players per team. So technically close to a third of the league will be really good players, with 2/3 of the league being normal players, which is what we feel like the NFL is all about. So we'll post this. We'll give you the code. I'll blast this out, get this over to everybody. I hope you enjoy it. Let us know your feedback. Try it on. Do some test runs with your team last year, your stats last year. Let's see what you think, okay? And if you have some good suggestions, some tweaking of settings, let me know, and we'll make those, okay? All right, guys, thank you so much. It's super late. I got to get to bed. Have a great rest of your week. God bless you. Peace.